gonna miss all this good stuff when you retire. You're gonna miss it a little bit. Huh?
Lethal Weapon 3. So everyone is back this time, except for Shane Black. Shane Black was offered the job to write Lethal Weapon 3, but he turned it down. So Jeffrey Boehm, he comes back, and it really shows because all the darker and grittier elements from the previous films have been washed away. Now Donner and Boehm prefer to lean into the comic side of the buddy cop genre that they helped create. Originally, Joe Pesci was not supposed to return, but with the shift in tone to more comedy and Pesci's rising star power with hits like Home Alone and an Oscar for whatever fucking movie he won an Oscar for.
Goodfellas. You should say his Oscar for Gone Fishing. Which is basically like a sequel to Lethal Weapon 4, where it's Leo Getz and Roger Murtaugh finally taking out that boat.
I forgot that's who they teamed up on that one. Donner had him written back in. Wish he hadn't. Another major script change was Riggs' love interest. The original plan was to have Riggs and Rihanna, the daughter of Glover's character, become romantically involved. And I think that's really gross. Not just their age, but because of the relationship, how it started.
My sister's Sherry. She's in love with this guy named Harry. Nicholas.
4-year-old high school kid when they met.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. I can't believe the writers had that and obviously filmed some scenes that still have elements of that show up in the film. So, because originally the internal affairs agent, Lorna Cole, she was originally written as a man who had similarities to Riggs. He was wild, erratic, and had an intense side and was supposed to be kind of a rival to Riggs. But obviously they rewrote that character to become the Lorna Cole character and the last really great addition to the Lethal Weapon family.
I didn't know Lorna Cole was originally supposed to be a guy, but there's a funny line in the movie where he goes, no, I slept with Sergeant Cole. And Murtaugh goes, Sergeant Cole from Traffic? And he goes, no, that's her uncle.
Yeah, I caught that line. That's really funny that, like, there actually is a male Cole, on the force, and they're related. Yeah, that could be a little nod to where the character started from.
Slept with Sergeant Cole. Hey, Sergeant Cole from Traffic. No, not Sergeant Cole from Traffic. Lorna, Sergeant Cole from Traffic's her uncle.
Some of the rumored casting possibilities for the Lorna Cole character were Michelle Pfeiffer, Winona Ryder, who was only 20 at the time. Again, kind of weird.
You can't work for internal affairs if you're 20. It takes a while.
Yeah, it didn't really make sense. But, they're trying to pick hot actresses of that time. And Jodie Foster, who would later team up with Donner and Gibson on the comedy western Maverick. So I think she could have actually been a nice fit to that role if they had gone there. But she wouldn't have been as believable in the physical part of the role.
No, she would.
Which is a really important part that Rene Russo brings. In fact, Rene Russo won out when she read with Gibson and proved that she could match his toughness while still seeming like a believable love interest for the Riggs character.
I've always thought that Rene Russo and Michelle Pfeiffer have like a very similar acting style and sassiness.
I could see that, yeah.
Almost their vocal range is very similar. So that could have I could see why that Rene Russo, they couldn't get Michelle Pfeiffer, but I think Rene Russo's perfect in this role.
One of the highlights and really like the one new star that they brought to part 3, because the villain does not really stand out as they did in the previous films. The villainous gun runner Jack Travis could have been played by the likes of Jack Nicholson, Robert De Niro, or Michael Keaton, but they went with a cheap version and hired Stuart Wilson,
who's great 2 years later in No Escape, by the way.
He is. I like him in certain roles. He's really good. If I remember correctly, he's really good in Zorro as well as a villain.
Let me see. I'm trying to picture Jack Nicholson.
Hey, wait a second. We could put our initials in that.
How do you write women so well?
I think of a man, and I take away reason and accountability.
We can put our initials in there. Yeah? Jesus Christ.
That is my favorite moment for Stuart Wilson's character. Yeah, he has his moments. I don't hate, Wilson or the Travis character, but
He's
very
underwritten. He's
and-
underwritten for sure.
Yeah, and just doesn't live up to what we had gotten in the previous entries. The story takes place during Murtaugh's final week before retirement. Riggs and Murtaugh stumble again onto a case through an armored car chase that leads to a corrupt ex-cop who's selling weapons stolen from the police evidence locker.
They only get more convenient from here, folks.
Yeah. This time, the socially conscious message for the third film is against gangs and gun violence. And that's a little subplot that I guess you didn't remember as much in this film. It does take up a good chunk of the film. But the main focus...
Boys in the Hood had just come out. And it was
I could see that.
You can totally feel that.
Break yourself, fool!
But the main focus is now on the leads and how they'll deal with this transitional period and what might be the last week of their working relationship. All the action and thrills become secondary to a plethora of subplots that give the film an uneven and unfocused feel.
Yeah, I agree. This is kind of the most convoluted, even though it's so simple, but it feels convoluted with everything going on.
Yeah.
You almost forget about the plot of the movie, the plot of the caper. That's in my subplots. Here's my list of subplots, and the caper is the last subplot in my list. It's the gang kids shooting, Leo selling houses, the rookie cops storyline, Rianne having an acting career, Riggs trying to quit smoking, Roger having a stalker, and then the villain storyline. I'm gonna say there's one more, and then there's.
I'm sure there's more. That was just
random. Then there's the love story subplot. Yeah, there's a bunch.
But I actually kind of enjoy that. That's one of the few parts of the movie I still really enjoy. I do like how this film, the third film, which anytime you make 3 movies, it's a trilogy, even if you have plans to continue your series beyond that. I like that there is kind of a bookend to this trilogy with the scene in the bathtub at his retirement party, bookending his birthday in the bathtub at the beginning of the first film.
Well, I have a question for one of your subplots. So the gang shooting, I watched this movie twice for our rewatch, as I mentioned. Why didn't... Okay, so Murtaugh shoots a gang member who's shooting at him with an Uzi or some kind of automatic weapon and kills him. And it turns out to be like his son's old childhood friend who became a gang member. And then the parents hate Murtaugh for shooting him. Fine. But Murtaugh, and maybe Murtaugh's just a really good man. Why didn't he blame Riggs for that gang member shooting? They were simply going to eat burgers and make a burger, and Riggs just sees some cars pull up somewhere that looks suspicious. He should have just let that go, right? It's lunchtime. It's like, who cares what's going on over there?
Yeah, I mean, in the long scheme of things, I'm sure, when you replay things in your head and you're like, the order of events, I wish this didn't happen so that wouldn't have to happen. The way they try to connect that storyline even to the main plot in any way is because the cop killer bullets. These young kids are running around the street and they're shooting these dangerous bullets that have cop killer bullets. So it was at the end of the day, they're out there. They are cops. They are out there to stop that dangerous situation, the sell of guns, the sell of this dangerous ammunition that when turned on the police becomes so deadly. You could kind of tie it back to they were doing police work at the end of the day. It doesn't matter who's on the other side of the law at that moment.
I think Riggs might be racist. He sees
there is definitely racism, and
he sees 2 cars pull up full of young African Americans. He's like, oh, something must be going down. That's crazy! But if he didn't go there looking for trouble and he just sat there continuing, I would have stayed there and waited for that burger that Murtaugh.
That's true. You had a burger going. You could have just
and he's chewing on an onion like an apple. Fast Eddie's.
Oh, is that the name of the restaurant?
That's the name of that little burger shack, yeah.
Okay. It reminds me of The Hard Way when they stopped for the frog dogs.
For the frog dogs, yeah.
Frog dogs. Yeah.
We're going to introduce our friend here to the pleasures of a frog dog.
Frog a dog, huh? Tasty.
Really only one new character worth mentioning, which is Lorna. She really is, as I was saying, kind of the last addition, as this is the original version of Fast and the Furious, and they keep adding to their family with each movie, and everybody that comes in becomes family.
No! Yeah. We're family!
I
wish there was more with the rookie cop, because you had mentioned that subplot, and I'm glad you did. Like, if there's a couple of more scenes there, it would have hit a lot.
It could have meant something. And maybe they filmed some more and it just didn't make it, but...
Because you could tell the intention was to make it hit kind of hard, because he's sort of like a young Riggs, you know, because they see him at the shooting range and stuff like that. But yeah, it would have been cool if there's one or two more quick scenes, but it's already overstuffed. So
well, and it's overstuffed because Pesci having to come back and just being super annoying. It's amazing how he goes from everything he does in part 2 is hilarious and perfect for that character and memorable. And the reason that we love Leo Getz and part of the reason we love Joe Pesci is everything that he does in that movie. And there's not a bad moment with him in that movie.
And his character is driving the story through. You know, he's a big part of the story.
But he's doing the same thing. It's just there's just a difference in the writing, in the jokes, and maybe to your point that he's not integral to the story, even though they make him. It's just amazing how quickly that character was great and then terrible. Like, just get him off the screen. He is the worst part of this movie.
He really is, and like the dyed hair.
Yeah, all the other comedy in the movie, whether it's Riggs and Murtaugh's banter at the beginning with the bomb and stuff like that, I find that really funny. I think, like you were pointing out, that scene at the burger stand and him like putting the onion in his mouth, chew on this or whatever. Like, their delivery to each other, there's humor there, but it comes across realistic, like the way people really might talk to each other in a real friendship relationship. Compared to other buddy cop movies like Bad Boys or Rush Hour, where you actually have comedians in those roles and it feels like they're doing stand-up.
Oh, you motherfucker, you can't fight. Look at you. Mike. No, I want to know if the nigga, I want somebody gonna take my niece out. I want to know if
their banter does not feel real to each other. They're doing stand-up back and forth. And so I really appreciate the buddy cop comedy and kind of realism, even though 1 and 2 are so much more realistic. Each film you go along, 3 is the one that kind of starts to break the realism. There's still enough of it there, and there's still some really real moments. There's still some great dramatic moments between them, like on the boat, where they're trying to talk about the retirement and what it means to Riggs as well. He's like, you guys are my family. You got I got 3 kids and they're yours or whatever. Like, that's a really great scene that matches up with stuff that you fall in love with from the first 2, where you get the drama and you really get to know these characters in a real way that you normally wouldn't get to see in action movies.
You selfish bastard! You selfish bastard! You're just thinking about yourself, goddamn. It's not my problem. You're the only family I got. I got 3 beautiful kids. I love them. They're yours. Trish does my laundry. I live in your icebox. I live in your life.
I remember I went and saw this movie with my older brother in the theater, and the opening was so funny because you get that crazy psychotic Riggs where he's just like, I don't care which wire. Wait. You want me? Did you say red or did you say blue?
A second ago, you just said blue.
Did I say blue? Like, it's so funny that he's literally toying with their lives like he's suicidal again.
Help! Oh! What? A minute ago you said blue. Did I say blue? Riggs, you said blue. Oh, I meant red. You sure? Look, Raj, we can do it your way if you like. My way, I don't have...
All these movies have this like little hint of like Three Stooges, as you said in the last show. Like, there's always Three Stooges in there. 3 and 4, both of them like equally not only have Three Stooges, but they start to kind of act like Three Stooges.
Yes.
And like, we got busted. Like, they blow up the building, and then we got busted down to patrolmen. It's like, what the fuck is this? Lethal Weapon? What am I watching here? Why are they wearing like this? Is like Police Academy now.
No, that's no problem.
Leaning in, they said we had these 2 really dead serious movies. Let's lean into the humor on this one, because buddy cop genre had really been established by that point, and it was leaning into the humor more on most buddy cop films. And yeah, so that was the direction the series went.
Look.
As they got older, like the serious action stuff becomes less believable anyway. Not that they aged out at the period that they had made 4, but
Mel Gibson was still in his late 30s when the 4th one came out, so he was still really young in part 3.
The longer it goes on, we're going to end up with that. Lethal Weapon 5 coming at you, rolling its wheelchair right at you.
Leisure weapon.
Happy to see that Kamen returned. Very important element of the Lethal Weapon series. I don't know what a Lethal Weapon movie would be without him. As well as Clapton and Sanborn are back on the axe and the sax and doing their thing. I still think the music's great in this movie. I love the song at the beginning.
Yeah,
from
Sting, dude. That song's great.
It Had to Be Me. That is a great intro. Even though you have to sit through the entire credits and watch the fire and stuff, it's great. I love it. I mean, that's back in the day where that's what we had was credits.
It's hard to say it. I hate to say it.
So it felt like almost like a Bond intro. I mean, it was just fire. It wasn't all
yeah.
But it was like, oh, okay, so we're doing this.
It is about the bonds of friendship.
But dude, that intro, that opening credit sequence made you think you're gonna watch a very serious movie.
Yeah, I know. And then part 2, which is very serious, starts with Looney Tunes music. What's going on?
Part 2 started the trend of like, let's have an original song from an artist. Part 2 had George Harrison doing a great song.
Is that the outro? Whatever plays as the...
Yeah, that George Harrison song. And so this one had the Sting song at the beginning and like this awful Elton John song to close it off at the end.
A dog and everything. I figure I can, make ends meet.
There's a hungry road I can only hope's gonna eat me up inside.
Not the DP until the third film, but Jan de Bont takes over, and you can see a similarity to his die-hard kind of lens flare style show up in this film.
Yes, you can. Yeah.
But I do think it still matches the look of the previous films as well.
Honestly, like when I rewatched this movie and I watched the motorcycle and the train where Gibson or Riggs gets on the front of the train and then gets onto a motorcycle, that whole chase, I was like, this guy's doing his speed run through kind of. I don't know. It kind of had that vibe to it a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. Or yeah. Kind of.
I mean, I know he didn't direct it. He just shot it. But I wonder if that gave him any kind of ideas or whatever. For how to shoot. I know that at the time in 1991, when they were filming this, the Rancho Verde or Mesa Verde construction site or whatever, that was a very, very, very expensive shoot. Burning that whole thing down. I guess they built that set more than once, or at least parts of it, because they really dude, Murtaugh's face, it looks like regular Murtaugh, but he has a mask on. But yeah, like the final big showdown at the end was like, I guess it was $10 million to shoot it initially, and then they had to go back and like reshoot scenes. But again, guys, this is 1992. It was all practical. You had to build these things. You had to do the pyrotechnics.
Located in Lancaster, apparently, is where that housing was. Owners of it were excited that Hollywood wanted to come in and make Lethal Weapon there. They're like, great, they're going to destroy it. We won't have to do anything. But filmmaking is they couldn't completely flatten it. They had to shoot in a way where, you're using fake flames and things like that, so you can do multiple takes. And so at the end, there still was a lot of it left behind. And the company that owned it was like left with, they still had to figure out a way to get in there and demolish it. They were hoping Hollywood kind of demolish it for them. But it didn't go that way. But they certainly destroyed sections of it, but
probably got paid some good money to finish.
Oh yeah, Hollywood, like you said, 10 million or whatever, they got a portion of that. But they also blew up 2 buildings for the movie, as you mentioned, the opening bomb scene. That was a building in Orlando that they really blew up, and it's impressive, the shots that they pull off for that. But it doesn't amount to much, as you pointed out.
It doesn't amount to anything.
It's more integral to the prop. To the
super
plot.
Expensive stunt that serves no purpose in the story other than it's really fun to watch.
There was supposed to be this mad bomber. That's why there's 2 bombs in the movie, but they never really make mention of it. And the second one, most people didn't even know took place because it's, a stinger at the end. So if there had been like even a couple lines throughout that was like the real case they're supposed to be involved on while they get embroiled in these other cases. But yeah, there was supposed to be kind of like this mad bomber loose in the town. That's why we have those 2 bombing scenes, but it didn't really work its way into the script in any real way.
Yeah, and then when you have the bomb squad captain or whatever that was there for the toilet scene in part 2, he just bumps into him in the bathroom. Hey, Riggs, you trip any wrong wires lately?
Hey, Becca, how's it hanging?
Hey, Riggs.
Yeah.
Clip any wrong wires?
No, I haven't done that for a couple of days, no.
Oh, come on, it's our job. He would never talk to him again. If that happened. He would just be like, did you fucking foil? You ruined everything, our whole fucking case. We could have disarmed that in 2 seconds. Like,
yeah, that's very true.
He's just like, hey, you tripping any wrong wires lately, Riggs? Hey, have a good day. She's internal affairs. It's like
the big train, the police station.
That's my favorite scene in the movie. Feels
the most Lethal Weapon-ish.
Yeah, and you know how you always talk about how like Cameron, he escalates his action scenes where things build and build and build, and like this one starts out like at that, and I love it where the kids like, the LAPD has subways, you know, and like they go down there and there's a shootout, and you're like, okay, well this scene will probably end because there's a shootout, and it's like, no. Then it goes to like Riggs on the front of that train, which is really cool. That scene's great, and then it turns into a big car chase. I think that's the best scene in the movie for me personally.
A car chase where the villain gives the worst directions. Everything he tells his driver to do sends him down the wrong way and like off of a bridge or whatever. He's constantly like, oh, turn here. And it's like, no, that was a bad choice.
And that scene ends with Riggs getting his trademark dislocated shoulder.
And that works for me. You know how things
work for me too
in the movies? I think that one works pretty well.
Yeah, considering how he fell, I mean, that would definitely pop out. Yeah, the armored car one, it sucks for me because it like, even as a kid, I was like, oh, wait a minute, they just like saw this happening in the middle of the street. Like, there's no tension in that scene because you have that obnoxious woman singing and like, hey, Roger, you're so sexy. It's like, dude, come on, man.
Boom, don't hit it. Don't you worry about nothing, baby. I got something for you.
I mean, it gives you elements of what you want from a Lethal Weapon action scene, but it lacks the tension that you want or any real reason for it to be happening other than just we needed an action scene at that moment.
We need them to stumble upon.
Exactly. But another fight scene that I do kind of like is Lorna beats the five guys into hamburger patties.
Yeah.
That was a Five Guys hamburger reference.
I love how she puts the car jack and just slams it down on dude's foot. Like, she's
little
resourceful.
Moments like that with the car jack. I think it's choreographed in a way where it makes it seem believable that she could handle that situation. Like, it's not just, her beating them with her punches and her kicks. There's a lot of other things she utilizes in the scene to pull it off.
Well, and I love it that Riggs knows that she can handle it because Murtaugh's like, let me go help. And he's like, no, wait, watch this, Riggs.
Watch this.
As a gift.
Thing of beauty.
Maybe I should go with her, Riggs.
No, I want you to see something, Rod. She has a gift. Watch this.
No, I love their relationship. Like, it really is pretty much every scene with them, especially, I think it's the first scene is, I guess, in the elevator, but like later when they're in the captain's office, like talking about some of the humor in this movie that comes across as pretty realistic, although somewhat over the top. Like, I love the scene in the captain's office and the way they're giving each other the eyes, like the cross-eyed looks and stuff. Like, I just love their chemistry all throughout the movie.
You have the Rika thing in part 2, and then this one, it's like, oh, this is somebody much more suited for long term with Riggs, but I think one of the funniest scenes in the series is in that elevator where Riggs notices that she's internal affairs, so he starts whispering to Raj, but making sure she can hear it, that he's on the take. It's fucking hilarious.
Well, you deserve it, man. It's been those miserable drug dealers getting it.
What are you talking about?
Hey, don't sweat it. You laundered it, didn't you? They can't trace it if you laundered it. I'm happy. That's a what? I've never been to Portugal.
Yeah, I think the laughs really work in this movie. I don't think of it as like a comedy. I don't go to it for its comedy, but I think it works well, especially in contrast to how comedic so many other buddy cop movies really seem to lean into the comedy moving forward. From that era.
For sure. I mean, a lot of them are set up that way. Like 1 and 2 clearly were not, with the exception of like banter. And I agree. I don't think 3 or 4 should ever be like put in buddy cop comedy like categories. They're buddy cop action movies. 3 and 4 just leaned a lot more into what I think certain people thought they wanted from the rest of the franchise, or maybe we don't need to be so brooding anymore. Let's just make some fun movies or whatever. Some of the goofy stuff in 3 and 4 kind of make you think, well, are they trying to make a comedy? But at the end of the day, they're serious enough to keep it out of that category.
I really don't like the rookie cops. Like, it's his fucking birthday that day, that like he only has basically one scene in the movie, really, other than, you meet him at the shooting range. But this other scene is, he runs into them just in the hallway when they're off to do action, and he knows it, so he follows them and says, "I'm gonna go. It's my birthday."
Love it though that he goes, "Woo!" He's all
so
excited.
Every moment that he's involved in that scene, I kind of hate.
I kind of wish that he had just taken like a shot to the arm or something. It would have been. I don't know. Like, the movie has been like kind of silly up until this point, and then it's like this kid gets killed, and then they never make mention of it again.
I think just take out the line about it being his birthday.
Happy birthday, kid.
The cop killer bullets are fucking stupid. They shoot through, like, for him, they shoot through an iron barrel or whatever. Okay, maybe that's possible, but I do not believe that you could shoot through the metal scoop of a bulldozer.
I was gonna say, don't get me started on the ending where it goes through that bulldozer.
No, I don't buy that one.
That is the stupidest ending of all these movies for sure, right there. That was so.
But even
dumb.
the barrel and the shooting through 2 plates or whatever. Like, I'm not a gun guy. I don't know, but maybe there are bullets that totally do that shit.
Cop killers!
Another really dumb moment is Pesci, knowing the villain, just happens to be in the police station and sees an image on a TV screen and says, "Who's that guy? I know that guy. I know where he is. I know what he likes. He likes hockey.
Yeah.
He likes to sit over there."
Hey, I know this guy. What are you watching, Geraldo?
What did you say?
I said, I know the guy.
whole hockey scene does not need to be in the movie. It's so lame.
Because it takes
Yeah.
place. Fuck that.
And I just remember they were trying to mimic a funny line he did in part 2 but in 3 he's like, let me think. Somebody brought a monkey because the monkey knocked over a salad bar.
Somebody brought a monkey because the monkey knocked over the salad bar.
Another thing that really rubs me the wrong way as a hockey fan, the rules of a hockey arena is you stop people from walking when the game is in play. So all this bullshit of letting them walk up and down the aisles while the game is in play, fine, it does happen at the hockey arenas. There's a lot going on. You can't stop everybody, or you're allowed to get up and walk down to the restroom. You just can't go back to your seat. Whatever, that's a very specific rule. But the one that rubs me the most the wrong way, towards the end of that scene, or like when they're down on the ice, they've opened the little side panel that the Zamboni drives in, and that people come out onto the ice to service the ice, move the net, whatever. That thing is wide open. The game would not be continuing. There is no reason that a ref would blow his whistle and allow players to continue playing while all that's going on. While there are people running across the ice, waving guns, falling down, being shot, all of these things happening, yet because it's a movie, you have to see these players in the background still skating around like they're playing a hockey game.
It leads to one of the other dumbest moments that's supposed to be funny, where the dum-dum wound. I'm just like, why is anybody buying this?
Yeah. And then the doctors actually do like tests on him. They know these guys were trying to fuck with him. Like, I think the doctor would maybe catch that and be like, we don't need to do that to him. But
that
whatever.
doctor was a moron. He's like, what's a dum-dum wound? It's like, come on, dude. Just, yeah. This movie, I guess it takes place over a little bit more time than 1 or 2 does, which is, both of those are like a couple of days, 3 days.
It's 8 days from his retirement, and it ends.
Right.
I guess it takes 8 days because we see it end on his retirement day.
So in 8 days, and we can probably take 2 or 3 of those out, discount 2 or 3 of those out before they meet, or before Riggs goes on his first little adventure with Lorna. So let's say 5 days. And at the end of the movie, he tells her,
I love you.
that's pretty quick.
Trust me, buddy, it happens.
It's pretty
7
quick.
days.
No,
me.
it's fine. It's fine. It's a tiny little thing, but I was like, whoa, I forgot that he said I love you.
It
It's
does,
like,
though. 7 days for me. So,
all right, well, okay.
it can happen.
I mean, 7 days you could fall in love, but do you say it in 7 days? But
I did.
anyway. Oh, wow. Holy shit.
I got a fever.
Lethal Weapon tropes. This one has it all except for, surprisingly, one that really seems like it needs to be in every movie is Murtaugh's shooting style, where he cocks his head. The ending, when he shoots not the bad guy, but like the secondary bad guy, he didn't do it. Just surprisingly, Murtaugh's shooting style did not show up in part 3. And then the other thing that didn't show up was any property damage, whether it's his car or his house, which is in every other movie. And this one, not that they took the action to his home, which clearly would give us a possibility for that, but they did have the subplot of they were trying to sell their home and Leo being their real estate agent. That alone could have been something where just Leo makes some stupid mistake and the house gets damaged on a small level, not like driving a car through it. Not that I would have wanted more Leo humor. It is the worst thing in the movie. If they really were trying to keep all tropes in the movie, he could have done something to damage the house while showing it to the real estate people or something.
Well, he does say it has termites, but I'm actually glad he.
Okay, there you go. I'll take that.
Yeah, I'll take that over a scene of Leo driving the car through the house. Yeah, less Leo, the better in this fucker.
This movie had a pretty modest budget of $35 million. You mentioned the previous one was around 27 or something.
Yeah, 28. Yeah,
28. So yeah, not a huge increase for clearly where the series, it was a cash cow, and sequels were, by the early 90s, that was Hollywood's direction was let's have these franchises and make them go forever. So I think they could have pumped a little more money into this and possibly got one of those big names for the villain, and it would have made this a lot better. Obviously, they'd have to rewrite the part to have a substantial part.
Bye, Billy. Jack. Bye, Billy.
Carol the waitress, Simon the...
Maybe we would have had to lose the gang subplot, and that would give us time for more of the villain story. Probably would have a way better movie if we had just gone with any of those 3 possibilities as a villain.
Yeah, none of these movies really like there's not a lot of star power in the villains, especially 2 and 3. I guess you could say obviously Gary Busey in 1, and in 4 you have Jet Li, but I think Jet Li was at that time
it was his first American film. So
yeah, at that time he was a Hong Kong star, but yeah. If Jack Traven was written a little better and maybe had a bigger face to it, it could have been more impactful, I guess.
So $35 million was the budget. The movie made $144 million domestic and $319 worldwide. So I believe
continuing the trend of being about 10 times your budget. So these movies were all
worldwide, but not the highest grossing domestic.
Right. These are up to this point all very profitable films,
Yeah.